Let me ask you something. If you were flying over Lake Superior at dawn and you saw a 600-foot freighter drifting silently through the fog, engines running, radar active, but no one on deck, would you assume it was abandoned? Or would you pray it never saw you? Before we get into this, if you love real American maritime mysteries like this, hit like so this story reaches more people, and subscribe for more deep dive horror from right here in the U.S. And tell me in the comments, do you believe the Great Lakes hide things we don't talk about? Because what happened in October of 2015 still unsettles investigators. It started with a routine Coast Guard radar ping. A bulk freighter, the Marlowe, was drifting roughly 18 miles off the northern shore of Michigan in thick Superior fog. No distress call, no collision alert, just slow, unnatural drift. At first, officials assumed mechanical trouble, until they tried contacting the crew. Radio silence. Now here's where it gets strange. The ship's AIS tracking showed something impossible. The vessel had been maintaining steady speed, 12 knots for hours. Then at exactly 3:17 a.m., its speed dropped to zero, engines still powered. No mayday, no transmission, just stop. When the Coast Guard helicopter arrived at sunrise, the footage showed something eerie. The Marlowe wasn't damaged. No visible hull breach, no smoke, no chaos. Just a massive steel freighter gliding gently through fog like it was being guided. Boarding officers expected to find injured crew. Instead, they found something worse. Nothing. All 14 crew members were gone. Not missing at sea. Gone. Cabins were undisturbed, personal belongings still inside, wallets, phones, jackets hanging neatly. One officer later described it as like they stepped out for 5 minutes, except they never came back. The galley told a story that still disturbs investigators. Breakfast had been prepared, eggs half-cooked on the stove, coffee still warm in mugs, plates laid out, one chair tipped over, as if someone stood up too fast. But there were no signs of struggle, no blood, no broken glass, nothing violent, just absence. Now here's a detail that most news reports barely mentioned. 2 lifeboats were missing. Not destroyed, not deployed properly, missing. And the davits, the mechanisms used to lower them, showed no manual activation marks, meaning they weren't lowered the usual way, yet they were gone. If a storm hit, you'd see damage. There was none. Weather records show mild winds that night, 4-foot swells at most. Nothing capable of forcing an experienced Great Lakes crew to abandon ship. And these weren't rookies. The captain had over 20 years of superior experience, men who knew how to handle iron ore freighters in brutal November gales. So what makes seasoned sailors leave a functioning vessel in calm water? The engine room logs add another layer. At 3:11 a.m., internal sensors recorded a brief temperature spike. Not catastrophic, but abnormal. 6 minutes later, speed dropped to 0. At 3:17 a.m. exactly. After that, the logs stopped updating, not erased, just frozen. And here's something chilling. The onboard CCTV system captured footage up until 3:14 a.m. Investigators reviewed it. What they saw has never been publicly released, but a maritime officer anonymously told a local journalist, something caused panic, and it wasn't mechanical. Rumors began spreading fast. Lake Superior has its own history. The Edmund Fitzgerald, vanished ships, unexplained radar shadows, and local fishermen talk about dead zones, patches of water where electronics glitch, where compasses drift, where fog thickens unnaturally. The Marlowe had stopped directly inside one of those reported zones. When divers searched the surrounding waters for the missing crew, they found no bodies, no debris, no overturned lifeboats, nothing. Sonar scans showed something else though, a massive anomaly roughly 300 feet beneath the surface. Not a wreck, not rock, just a shape. It disappeared when they rescanned. Equipment malfunction, they said, but multiple divers reported something unsettling. The water felt warmer near that location, even though Superior in October is bone-chilling. Back on shore, investigators began examining crew communications. Family members confirmed something disturbing. 2 crew members had texted loved ones hours before the disappearance. One message read, "Engine noise sounds wrong tonight." Another, "Feels like something's following us." No elaboration, no context, just that. And then there's this detail that rarely makes it into articles. The ship's horn system activated once at 3:16 a.m., a single long blast, not triggered from the bridge, triggered from inside the engine control room. But when officers checked that room, it was empty, no one inside. So let me ask you again, if trained professionals in calm conditions on a stable vessel suddenly abandon ship without a distress call, what did they see, or hear, or feel? The official conclusion was probable crew panic following mechanical anomaly. Case closed, insurance settled. Ship eventually towed back, renamed, recommissioned. But sailors talk, and dock workers remember. One maintenance engineer assigned to inspect the Marlowe months later refused to return after his first shift. He reportedly told a coworker, "The engine hum isn't steady, it sounds like breathing." Here's the final hook. In 2018, during a heavy fog morning on Lake Superior, another freighter radioed in something odd. They reported passing a vessel matching the Marlowe's old description. Same hull color, same markings, drifting, silent. The Coast Guard found nothing in that location. No ship, no radar signature, just fog. Lake Superior is cold, deep, and statistically it preserves what it takes. Bodies usually resurface, debris drifts ashore. But in this case, nothing ever came back. 14 experienced sailors vanished, engines humming, meals untouched, lifeboats missing, and a final horn blast at 3:16 a.m. If you've made it this far, I want to know what you think. Storm confusion, mechanical malfunction, mass hysteria, or something in Superior's fog that doesn't show up on radar? Drop your theory in the comments. I read them all, and if you want more real American maritime and unsolved horror like this, subscribe now, because the Great Lakes have more stories, some of them still drifting. And next time you stand near Lake Superior's shoreline at night, and you hear a distant horn through the fog, make sure it's coming from a ship you can actually see, because sometimes the lake hums back.